Namaste. Welcome to a special discussion on what's happening right now in the United States. Less than 4 months to US presidential elections and Joe Biden steps out of the race and he endorses Kamala Harris. Couple of people are also endorsing her, couple of them are not, and all of this is within just a few days after the failed attempted assassination of Donald Trump. So this changes a lot of the dynamics in the US presidential elections. Today, Shri Giridhar Mamidi garu who will be discussing on this. So namaste Andy.
Namaste Aditya ji, namaste.
Yeah, so you've been seeing all this going on. There's a lot of stuff going on Twitter, on the mainstream media. So what is your take on this recent Joe Biden stepping down from the race?
Well, I believe Joe Biden's bid was dead much before the assassination attempt.
Okay.
Well, why do I say this? Because his performance in that particular presidential debate probably sealed his fate. After that, his major donors started withdrawing. And they were vocal about it. They didn't want to disturb the Democratic Party's ability to win the elections.
Right.
So they were discreet initially. Slowly they started officially withdrawing. Then they started announcing it that we are withdrawing and we are suspending and whatnot. And people like George Clooney, who's a great influencer, he comes and says. So steadily it was going against him. If a few party members go against him, it's fine because there are others who are going to support him and he had enough delegates to back his bid. But then once the funds are drying up, that's when panic started hitting. I think it was a very, very smart move by Democrats to plan for a presidential debate before he was nominated. Just imagine if he was not nominated. I mean, if he was nominated, let's say after the August 19th DNC,
Correct.
He gets officially nominated and then you have a presidential debate.
Right.
The Democrats wouldn't have an option to recall him back.
So basically the timing of him quitting is because of the meeting they have in August.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a trigger point and that kind of, I don't know why Trump walked into the trap. Trump should have said, you first get your nomination, let your party officially nominate you and then I'll debate with you.
But it did help Trump though. If you
Actually, in my view, it has actually hurt Trump.
Okay.
It did not help him because now he has to deal with a separate animal, completely different animal. I don't know. Could be Kamala Harris, God knows who is going to be the nominee. His entire strategy, his planning, everything campaign was completely geared to handle Biden.
Yeah.
Now we got to handle somebody else. So it's a challenge for him as well. Had he not gone into the debate, assuming that Biden would have got the nomination, then he would have been a sitting duck for Trump.
So post-August, the chances of Biden to step out would have been extremely low?
No, it doesn't exist.
It's impossible. Okay.
Once DNC has endorsed a candidate, you can't withdraw him. Unless he's dead or, something seriously medically happens and gets admitted, we don't know. Right. America never had such an event in their history.
I think there was one event, right? Lyndon Johnson stepping out of the race during the Vietnam War. There is one incident that happened.
Well, I would say it was again open convention they had, but the scenario I'm saying is once you are nominated,
okay, right.
Then withdrawing it never happened. Right. Lyndon Johnson's issue was before the DNC, before the Democratic National Convention, he withdrew his candidature and then it was an open convention. There were fireworks within the convention as well as outside because of the Vietnam War. A lot of things happened then. Post that, both the parties have decided not to have an open convention.
Right.
Though legally it is permissible to them, they did not have an open convention. They always ensured that, delegates in each state, they have a primary and then, it adds up to the final convention or whatever.
So right now, if we see that, Kamala Harris is being, pushed and endorsed by Biden, it's also been endorsed by the Clintons, but not by Obama. Obama has given a very clear statement that it is the right thing that Biden has stepped out, but he didn't endorse Kamala. So do you think something is cooking? Do you think they'll actually bring in somebody who's not been in the limelight for a while?
Idea is that they want to gauge the temperature.
Okay.
They didn't want to immediately jump to a conclusion and then end up with egg on the face. Mm-hmm. So they're just waiting for things to happen. After all, it's not even 24 hours since Biden quit. So there is time for people to really assess the situation.
So it's a strategical thing that some of our leaders will endorse, some of us let us not endorse.
Correct. Absolutely right. And for Biden, it was a no-brainer. He had to endorse Harris because he has money with him and he had delegates with him. He had to hand it over to somebody. And who would he hand it over? Of course, the nominee who he chose to be the president should something happen to him in his tenure, right?
Correct.
So obviously he had to endorse Kamala Harris. But then the problem is it becomes an open convention now because the people who the delegates who had nominated or were willing to nominate Biden, since he has now withdrawn, they are now free. They can choose anybody else.
Right.
So now the actual real politics is going to happen. Since the last 12, 13 hours, Kamala Harris has been on the phone. She's been calling up, drumming up support. She's been desperately trying to, prop up her candidature. She did, contest in last primaries, and then she lost very badly to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard had completely exposed her, right? So she didn't have a great history of, primaries and stuff like that. So now the situation is that nobody else has actually thrown their hat in the ring, officially at least.
Yeah.
Right? So probably everybody is gauging. I mean, they're just trying to test the waters. Probably in some time to come, maybe in a couple of days, maybe a week or so, a picture would be clear. There are different arguments which are coming, which are popping up in terms of why Kamala should not be the nominee.
Okay.
We don't know whether those arguments would gain gain strength. We don't know. We got to watch. It's too early to say whatever it is.
Right.
The thing is that Trump has probably is prepared to thrash the Biden administration, right. Biden and Biden's administration. Should Kamala Harris stand in place of Biden? Obviously, she's part of that administration.
So till the Democratic National Convention event, which will happen in August, even Trump's team will be kind of confused that what do we do now?
Absolutely confused. Now that is where probably DNC is thinking hard. Should we go with Kamala Harris? Now, if they go with Kamala Harris, what would happen is between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, it's the same team for Donald Trump. So Trump would continue. He'd say he would go Biden's administration, Kamala Harris and all these guys, they failed on the border, they failed with China, they failed on economy. It's the same team. Assuming that the Democrats throw up one of their, maybe independent counselor, one of their counselors, senators or congressmen, or maybe one of their governors, for instance, you can't stick the national failure to those governors.
Right.
So there would be fresh faces altogether, right?
So the decision for this, do you think it's something which is purely political within the two parties over there, or do you think there's also other players, other factors, a deep state involving? I've seen quite a lot of your talks you refer to a deep state. So do you think a deep state also involves in these kinds of matters?
Absolutely. Look at Nancy Pelosi. What's her role now? She doesn't have any designation. She's nobody. She's retired and now, she doesn't hold any power. But see, what's the power she has? She's openly able to say what she's saying. And look at Obama. He's no more the president. Right? And then the last nail in the coffin was when he kind of sent feelers to Biden's team that it's time for him to go.
Right.
That was when he quit finally. Right? Obama was the last to say that. So you see how disproportionately these people hold the power. Look at Clinton's. Right? Bill Clinton is already long gone and dusted. Right. But then Hillary is still, probably she has ambitions of a comeback. We don't know.
Yeah.
So the point is that all these people, they hold it. And the biggest deep state power they have is the funding, the sources of funding. Right. The people who fund them actually get to decide. So this is between the billionaires or trillionaires, God knows, people who are actually funding the Democratic Party. They get to decide which candidate should go or should not go through. Again, they are not idiots.
And this is irrespective of the party. You're saying even in the Republicans, do the deep state have a say? Or
everybody has a say. Every party has a deep state. Definitely, they have vested interests. There are lobbies. For instance, Trump is looked up very negatively, even among many Democrats.
Right.
For instance, the Bushes have not endorsed him yet.
Right.
Right. So did many other previous vice presidents and who are all alive now. They have not endorsed.
So is that due to his personal stance about Russia, North Korea, and all?
I don't think so, because Russia, Korea, North Korea, these stuff, Americans actually thrive in this kind of confusion. They want a lot of uncertainty in the world, and they want hegemony. They need control. They would be actually happy with Trump trying to do certain things, which probably Biden didn't do. That's all fine. But the problem with them is this guy is an absolute transactional guy.
You really can't predict, what
absolutely,
he won't fall in line.
Correct. Yeah. He's an absolutely unpredictable guy. Today he would say something and tomorrow he would flip complete 180 degrees. We don't know.
Right.
For instance, China was a bad guy for him all the while.
Correct.
Suddenly one day he says I made them write a check for $100 billion and our farmers are going to be rich. You know how he's going to talk, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to sell him a lot of soya beans. We're going to sell him corn. And you see people in Kentucky are going to be rich. He'll go tangent. He looks at everything transactionally. But the US administration's policy for long has been that, we do certain things free of cost to you. We give you a nuclear umbrella, we give you weapons, we have bases there, we protect you, blah, blah. In return, you surrender your sovereignty to us. Right? We get to decide how do you behave. Whether you vote in UN, you stand with us in NATO, we go to wars with somebody, you contribute certain things. It's all decided by the Pentagon, right?
But do you feel at this point, do you think the Republicans and Trump have a higher chance, especially after the failed assassination attempt? And there's a lot of sympathy wave that generated. And this move of Joe Biden that I'm stepping back at this point. So do you think it has any significant, add-on, a weightage to the Republicans?
See, roughly 40% of Democrats think that this was stage managed.
The assassination attempt?
Assassination.
Okay, but that's what any political opponent would do.
Yeah. So, see, the fault lines there are very strong, right? Democrats are not going to believe his story, nor are they going to be sympathetic to him. Maybe they'll just do a lip service. And Democrats are 50% of the population.
Right.
So, this would probably help in deciding at least some states which are swing states or which are toss-up states like Pennsylvania and others, where actual assassination attempt happened. Some of these states probably, they could swing a little bit to the red. That's possible. No doubt about it. But the thing is, if you see the Electoral College, when Trump won the election first time around, Hillary Clinton got the popular vote. She had 29 lakh vote more than Trump. Yet Trump won that election because of the Electoral College that they have. When Biden won the next election, he had 71 lakh votes with him, more than Trump. So, are you expecting 71 lakh votes would vanish suddenly and then Trump is going to win? So, there's a lot of rhetoric in the public. I don't think
there's already significant polarization, you're saying, except for the swing states.
Correct. And even the swing states, it's a toss. We don't know. I mean, there's 4 months to go. The moment you see somebody like a traditionalist, conformist, and somebody who's pliable, who is willing to continue a status quo, somebody comes in, that's a known animal for them. They don't want to risk. So probably then you would see certain changes happening. You still have 3-4 months to go.
Right.
If it was Biden, yes, I mean, it was damn sure that Trump was going to walk through. But since it's not Biden, if it's somebody else, and that too somebody much younger than Trump, then Trump does have a challenge. So, Kamala Harris is pretty young.
Right. So now let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say the Republicans get through, Trump comes to power. Do you see any significant policy changes, like Trump says, when I'm there, not one single war started. In fact, some wars have been wound up then. Now I'm not there, see new wars have started. So do you think if Trump comes into power, it could be, a huge shift in policy, partly at a global level in terms of Russia, North Korea and all. But more importantly, the second part of the question is regarding India itself. So what would be the policy shift?
See, whether Trump, Reagan, Clinton, Bush's, Carter, it doesn't matter. Who is the president, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
The American their economic model itself is such that they go into recession between 2 wars.
Correct.
The moment they go into recession, they need to go to war. As simple as that.
Right.
So right now, they are in the process of getting into recession. What generally they do is, first pushback is, they transfer the recession to the rest of the world by printing more currency. Normally in any country, if you print more currency, you have recession and then you have inflation and you have other complications to it, right?
Correct.
Whereas it doesn't happen to US.
Yeah.
Because they just transfer it.
Because we're built on the dollars right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for US right now, what's happened is, there is a heavy pushback happening in the rest of the world.
De-dollarization and all.
De-dollarization is one aspect of it. Like BRICS is now pushing back. And then the biggest challenge for them is MBS has not renewed the contract of selling oil in dollars. Now that Biden's administration is going off, then probably if Trump comes in, that is his biggest challenge.
Right.
If he is able to convince MBS to again renew that, then probably America is again back in the game.
Right.
If not, the slide is going to be there, and then BRICS would come up with something different.
Is there potential of the Ukraine war ending if Trump comes to power, as he claims?
Well, basically he'll cut off funding for them. So obviously,
They are forced to stop them.
yeah, they have no option. So that's one option. But then we don't know what's going to be the pushback from his own defense industrial complex,
Right.
because they are selling and they're selling big time. So it's a big fraud actually. What happens is the funds leave from the US, get back to the US again.
Mm.
And actually the countries which are supposed to get benefited, they actually don't get anything.
Mm.
Typically look at Afghanistan. They would have spent, let's say, 200 billion at least,
Right.
right? Have they built any building there?
Correct.
Is Afghanistan any better today?
Right. It's
In
more
fact,
chaotic.
we have built something. We have given them a parliament, we have given them a dam, we have given whatever, hospitals. We have done a lot of stuff.
India
What
has
did US do? 200 billion.
Yeah.
Where have they gone? So it has gone into their pockets. It has gone into their contractors, into their own politicians. So money is just round tripped, which is exactly happening in Ukraine also.
Right.
Ukraine war is not at all the issue. It is a means of round tripping the money back to themselves.
Mm.
So whether, that is the deep state which is worried about. If Trump comes in, probably is going to cut that off.
Right.
So they need that flow to happen.
So this is the defense and the economics part of it. But there are a lot of other narratives which, the Democrats push. Like, for example, there's the woke narrative, the he, she, the pronouns that they use, which there's even a video right now circulating where Kamala Harris, says, I'm Kamala Harris and my pronouns are she, her. And Elon Musk, of course, jokingly tweeted that, okay, are we going to have this for 4 years? So do you think these kind of narratives will continue because that's largely the psyche of the West right now? Or do you think Trump will put a halt to it?
He can't put a halt to it because it's 50% of the economy, 50% of the population.
Society. Yeah.
So you're not going to change it. And that too, there are many states where they are blue,
Right.
where the laws are going to help you. They're going to push you for that. Right now, 4 days back, Newsom has brought in a law in California where, parents don't, he's taking away the power of the parents to decide the gender of the child.
Correct.
So that will continue because whoever is sitting in the White House has no control over it. These are all the states who get to decide.
But do you think the relationship with India would be better if Republicans came, or it doesn't really matter?
Well, traditionally Republicans have been slightly better.
Okay.
Democrats have been a little troublesome for us. But this time around, in spite of all the rhetoric, Biden has been good to us.
Okay.
Right? He hasn't suddenly dumped in a lot of weapons and money with Pakistan. He's not revived them. He's not called, he's not given a phone call to either Imran Khan or to Shahbaz.
Right.
He hasn't invited them to White House. Whereas he rolled out a red carpet for Modi.
Is this also because of China?
Well, China is a significant factor, no doubt about it. But there is also a huge opportunity for their industries, their economy to look for a market which is emerging. We are the 5th largest and we're going to be the 3rd largest in a couple of years now.
Right.
So if they don't court us now, probably they would miss the bus. Probably somebody else would pitch in. Probably Europe, probably somebody else, That is an opportunity they don't want to miss. Plus, of course, the China factor. China is a significant factor. They need alternatives to the supply chains in China. That's a factor, no doubt about it. So that's why they're, quote unquote, tolerating Modi going and hugging Putin. They're not talking. Right. So that's just a game that they play.
Right. So as a concluding statement for today's discussion, so is there, post the August DNC, is there anything that you can foretell or anything you can predict based on the patterns that we see right now about US?
Well, I would think that the support to their allies would be a challenge.
Okay.
For instance, Trump has already made a statement that Taiwan is getting a lot of help from us and they're not paying us.
Right.
Which is actually a wrong statement because they are buying weapons from you. You're not doing anything free of cost to them. Unlike you're doing to, let's say, Japan or somebody else, right? Japan, Philippines, you have your bases there. Whereas, for which they're not paying, right? Whereas for Taiwan, you don't have any bases and they're actually buying equipment from you.
Right.
So then NATO, for instance, he's already made a statement a couple of months back that if you go needle Putin, if you do bad things to him and if he hits back, why should I come and defend you?
Correct.
Because the Article 2 of NATO Constitution says, if any member state is attacked, everybody else would come and defend them.
Correct.
Now, Trump has openly said, I will not defend you.
Right, which is again a violation of what NATO has agreed.
They think it's a violation, but actually the NATO law gives you exceptions why you may not join that coalition, right?
Okay.
So he's going to exercise that option.
Right.
And he's a superpower. If he walks out, NATO can't force him.
Correct.
And then there are challenges even in NATO also. For instance, a lot of countries, including countries like Canada, The NATO charter says you need to spend at least 2% of your budget on defense.
Right.
Lots of these countries are spending far less. So he would say that when you're not spending, why should I defend you?
Right.
So he is going to be a transactional guy. We have already seen him for 4 years, and we know how to handle his ego, and we know how to handle him transactionally. So I think we've got that experience to handle both. But yes, there is a little bit of additional advantage to us if the Republicans come to power versus the Dems. Democrats, the problem is they moralize quite a lot, whereas Republicans are more business-like. For instance, Obama, when we called him as a chief guest for Republic Day function, while his flight was taking off, he made a nasty comment that Gandhiji would have been hurt seeing today's intolerant country. Now, all that stuff, today they have some reports coming against our religious tolerance and what have you. Democratic issues, and Eric Garcetti lecturing us, These things would stop if a Republican admin would come. So for us, in that sense, we would have some relief from that. But again, please remember, it was the same Trump who stopped us from buying oil from Iran.
Right.
We didn't care Biden. We kept on buying from Russia. But we don't know if Trump comes in, he would force us to stop buying that also. We don't know. Right. We succumbed to him as far as Iran was concerned. And then he forced us on chloroquine or whatever.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydrochloroquine.
COVID,
yeah. Correct. He threatened. So it's not that he's going to be a panacea for all our problems. He's a challenge to us. But as I said, slightly better than Dems.
Right. So thank you, sir, for your engaging discussion today. So let's see, like among the few democratic superpowers, including India, our general elections, Lok Sabha elections are done. So now the whole of the world will also be watching the American elections. We'll keep watching it too. And any thoughts and comments you have, please mention them below. Namaste and Jai Hind.
ఈ వీడియో మీకు నచ్చినట్టయితే లైక్ చేయండి, 10 మందికి షేర్ చేయండి. అలాగే కామెంట్ల రూపంలో మీ అభిప్రాయాలను మాతో పంచుకోండి. నేషనలిస్ట్ హబ్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ ఛానల్స్ ను సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకుని తెలుగునాట జాతీయవాద జర్నలిజాన్ని ప్రోత్సహించండి. ఈ వీడియో కింద ఉన్న బెల్ ఐకాన్ పై క్లిక్ చేయడం మర్చిపోవద్దు.